problem solver and able to solve the problem, it works out for you. So with FANG companies, people think like it's harder to crack, but I believe like easier because the pathway for cracking the interview is already like documented. Yeah, what worked out was my previous experience in TD. So that helped me to get onto the interview. So North American experience and also the internship experience gave them some indication that, okay, I'm suited with the culture, the North American culture and the practices, the agile practices that's been followed. If I have to like put lead code in the priority list in your job preparation, that would come like third or fourth. Points for getting selected comes from your education. There people used to like apply for like 20-30 roles and they used to get like 10 interviews. There was a high demand for people to build e-commerce space, so the economy absorbed a lot of IT professionals within that time. You get a rejection, don't lose it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new podcast series. We call it Skill Route. This is presented by DataV and is launched in SkillFusion Academy. Today, we have our guest, Ariq Rahman, with us. Hello, Ariq.
Hi everyone,
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We're in Bangladesh right now. Yeah, nice to be done
Awesome. So,
with you in the podcast. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, right now, Ariq is working as a data engineer in Canada. So Ariq will share his experience with us, like about his background, about how he landed on a job, and how he prepared himself, and what's his future plan. So we'll talk all about Ariq today. So yeah, why don't you tell about a little bit about you, Ariq? Like where are you at right now? Like what are you doing, and what's your business like?
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. So my name is Ariq. So as Sakib already told that I work as a data engineer. So it's a kind of like contract role for a retail-based company in US. So I'm currently staying in Canada. So I completed my bachelor's from IUT from CSE, and then I went on to pursue my master's degree in applied computer science from University of Windsor. And yeah, right after that, like I went on working as a data engineer. So kind of like I'm a bit on my vacation in Bangladesh. I'll be back in Toronto within a month. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Arik, I know it's not easy to land a job in Canada because I had the same issue 15 years back when I tried to land on my first job. Though I had experience in like a working experience in Bangladesh for like 2 years, but after finishing my masters, I had some struggle to land my first job as well. So we will know about a little bit like how did you prepare yourself, how did you land yourself. But before going there, would you please tell us a little bit about your uh, background, like I mean, about your master's program, like what is the program, like I mean, what did you learn over there? So please.
Yeah. So it's better like I start from my career goals, like that would lead to the kind of program that I chose. So like after before I was about to graduate from IoT, usually in Bangladesh we had the career ambition of going abroad, and there are mainly two routes out there. One is either you pursue a research-based track where you get onto the hooks of a professor, then complete your master's or PhD, and join either as a like research scientist or in academia, or other the other path is like going on into the industry. So like I was more like a person who wanted to build stuff. The developer uh, and developing was my cup of tea. So that's why I was planning to like uh, go into kind of like a course-based program and program that provided opportunity to have some like industry experience and internship. So I had like a little bit and a year of experience working as an engineer and for a startup in Bangladesh. Then I also worked before that as a data analyst. So I pretty much like the ground set up for me, and idea of what like the data field look like. So I was mainly planning to get down into the career path of a data professional. So yeah, that's why I was planning to. I was looking for a program that provided internship. So like with the program at University of Windsor, the Masters in Applied Computing, it gives the opportunity to have a semester long of internship. So with that, you get some Canadian experience, which you can leverage going forward. Yeah, so that was my primary reason for choosing the program that I chose. Yeah.
Awesome. So about the program, like your master's program, this was the research bit or course base?
So it's a like course-based program. So it's a 16 months program with last semester. You have the opportunity to either do internship or like if you're unable to manage that, like you can do a capstone project. Yeah.
So have you managed to get an internship? Or like what, how was
Yeah, I
it?
was. Yeah, I was able to get an internship at TD. So I worked for the enterprise relations management team. So TD is like as some of you might know that like it's one of the leading banks in Canada. So
Mhm.
yeah, it has a huge IT team. So we're working in the IT team. You get exposure to like state of the art technology that's working over there. Get a overview and understanding of the best practices that's being followed in the industry. And I had the opportunity to work there as an intern. Yeah, as a
Nice.
data.
So let's also learn a little bit more about how did you get that internship as well? Because sometimes I heard from people like they're trying to get an internship, but they're not getting it. I heard from one of my known person like they're looking for an internship. They could not get it, but ultimately they actually do a remote internship, which is a Bangladeshi company. So yeah, so that would be an interesting story as well. I mean, would you mind share?
Yeah, sure. So my internship program started in like summer, like which spanned from May to August. So those 4 months. So before that, we usually get prepared from our department of about how to prepare the resumes, how to apply for different roles, and we have our own different portal where different companies post their internship job posting. So that gives us a bit of like leverage out there where with the within the internal university portal you can like skim through different job posting and apply. I think that those gets filtered out, but what worked for me is like even I had the trouble like before, like things were are different from completely right now. Before, like there people used to like apply for like 20, 30 roles and they used to get like 10 interviews. I'm talking about pre-covid. Can talk about that later, like how the job market shifted. But yeah, so I had also trouble like applying to different roles out there. I mainly tried to select roles that was within the periphery of my skill set. Like I tried to apply to roles that had Python as their requirement, SQL as their requirement, because I was more into data. So yeah, so I was applying, but had didn't have much luck. So like then I also at that time like I asked for a referral. Like one of my senior cohort was working in the same team, so I reached out to her. So like she was able to like send the resume. So referral works a bit over here. So
Mm,
that I was able to get called for the interview, and the interview process happened. So yeah, that's how I was able to manage it. But like it depends on from person to person. Some people who have a bit of experience and their experiences align up. So yeah, their resume gets picked up. We can get more into like how to prepare the resume later in the later sections maybe. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So it looks like referral is a very important thing because to get the interview call is the first thing. And if you don't get the interview call, then you cannot actually focus yourself, right? So what I understood from your experience is like, I mean, you had someone who helped you to get a interview call. So that's an interesting thing. Awesome. Thank you for sharing it. And yeah, and then let us know like after you finish your masters, like how did you land on a job? Like what are the preparation that you took actually?
Yeah, sure. So thing is like the job market feel like right now is completely different like prior to COVID. So the way I see is that there are different like changes in the whole like economy that has like shifted the whole like IT landscape. So what I see is that COVID had to have an impact. Number one, because within like 2020 to 2022, there was a huge spike in demand for IT professionals. People people were working online. There was a high demand for people to build e-commerce space. So the economy absorbed a lot of IT professionals within that time. But after COVID, like it reached like stagnant. It was not growing, and people were getting laid off. That was one uh, huge change that impact the economy. So the whole like IT sector was saturated. I'm talking about like after 2022. You can see that after like 2022 there are massive layoffs throughout like big tech companies like
Mhm.
ranging from FANG to mid-range companies. And then like there was the emergence of ChatGPT and AI. So what people were trying to do was that like they were trying to like leverage AI to replace some of the like manual and tedious tasks that were previously done by a human. And with that, like that has an ROI behind their decision making, whether if they can supplant a human resource with a AI, like the and like utilize least amount of resource to generate profit. So that would have been beneficial for them, and that was also impacting the landscape, as in like it was the junior positions were depleting, and people there was more demand for people with mid to senior experience range. I mean like more than 3 years. So that was another factor. Another was like that's bit endemic to Canada itself. Like as you might know, like there Canada was having like huge immigration influx, and that
Mhm.
saturated the whole economy, like through defense sector and also the IT sector. So like those are the main three reasons that I saw that impacted the whole economy. Things were like completely different. Even from my perspective, like after I graduated from Bangladesh, I was able to secure a placement within 2 months. But now things have shifted, and I was left astonished. Like even when I was like applying for my internship, that like 20 30 applications do not work at this time. The range was between like you have to drop the number of applications ranging from like more than 100 or 300 or even more. And that number staggered like after I graduated, so I was applying to hundreds of different roles. So there are like different factors that affected my getting a offer. And like I have to try out different routes for that. So it might be better like if I can lay those out for the viewers. From my experience, what worked out for that might help people who are in the similar shoes trying for roles. So yeah, so the number one factor that I see was that, yeah, the volume of applications. So at this point
Mhm.
it's completely like you don't know like which application will work or because like once you get the interview, then again like there are several stages to the interview out there. So you like if you apply for like small range and small choices of job roles, then your chances are very narrow. So yeah, the one thing that worked out for me was like increasing the volume of applications. So I have to like I broaden my like career pathways. Mainly I was aiming for data, then I also applied for QA and other software engineering roles. Yeah, so because my goal was to get into a dev role really, and given the economy, me like even if I got a placement as a QA or as a software developer, which is a bit like different from traditional like data engineer or data roles, I would have been like satisfied. At least I had some uh, starting point to begin with. So yeah, so the volume of applications worked for me. I kept on applying. And second of all, what works out is that like in Canada, like in main North American like companies, they have a job portal that utilizes ATS. So if the users might not know about ATS, so it's a kind of like a program under the hood of different portals out there. So those filters and selects resume based on how aligned your resume is with the job description. So the key to uh, getting your job filtered out and selected is to have certain amount of keywords that's there in the resume being in your resume. So for each like job where there's a potential of you securing an interview call, it's better to like tailor and tweak the resume. So I had to like aside from aiming for volume and quantity, I also had to like focus on quality, tailoring the resume so that it gets a pick from resume. And that's not even the silver bullet, because there are chances that like that might not even work out. Then what I did was I also like tried to like first, like initially, if a job seemed fit, I tried to go into LinkedIn. So there I try to like look for like people who were in the hiring team, and shoot them out a message for a referral, or people sorry, like if someone was in my alumni, someone was alumni and was working for the same company, and shoot them out for referrals, or like directly if the hiring manager's name is there in the job listing. So I was trying to reach out to the manager showing my interest for the role. So those are the things. So there are interviews where because of a referral, again I got a interview call, but sometimes people don't respond. Like people don't respond to unknown person, or the referral doesn't work. And even with referrals, there are multiple stages to it. For example, if someone is working within the same team, that referral is a higher weighted. Someone if someone is a directly hiring manager, that has a higher weighted. And there are referrals, the generic referrals for companies, that where people just send out a link and you apply to the link. Those from my experience, what I've seen is doesn't work too much. Yeah, so there are like layers to reference. So if I have to like summarize, so number one would be like aiming for like huge, focusing on the quantity. And also quality. I understand like there it can be time consuming out there. So for example, like if you focus more on the quality tailoring, like yeah, what happens is that okay, you waste more time on the job, and you have other times to allocate or dedicate for other work. So you have to find a balance between them. And thirdly, like reaching out to the hiring manager. Yeah. So those are the
Awesome.
main approaches that I followed, like for getting a placement. Yeah. And
Nice.
yeah. So the role that I got was like yeah. So it was through a like hiring agency. So they have their own portal where they have their own set of job listings out there. So
Mhm.
you have to take a like coding test out there. So if any job comes up and it fits with your background and with the test that you have given, so you get vetted out and selected for the interview. So that's how I got like uh, a call for the interview for the role. So yeah, so for as I said, like there isn't a single rule of thumb. Like you have to apply through different approaches in this economy. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. From my previous conversation with you, I know you didn't get this job from LinkedIn. You got it from a site called code.dev or something like that, right?
So the job posting of was there in LinkedIn from them. So because what happens is those agencies like post in different portals. We can get
Hmm.
more into the portals, like the portals or the widths of it later on. But
Hmm.
they usually post in different kind of portals out there. So
Hmm.
I got got to know about them through LinkedIn. Yeah, technically, yeah, through LinkedIn. So
So as a person who wants to look for a job, like I mean, so what is your advice to actually do a day-to-day task? Like I mean, suppose you are looking for a job right now. So, is there any fixed routine that you are following? Like every day, you have like suppose like you are actually active on some sites like LinkedIn, Indeed, some other sites. Like, can you give us a list of the sites and how did you actually? How was the days like? I mean, when you're looking for the job, like what is the exact like algorithm or like some kind of uh like like workflow that you are following on that time?
yeah, sure. Thanks. So that's a very good question to ask. So, yeah. So in Canada, like after graduation, so you don't only have to like look for your career path. You have other like priorities set in place. For example, people start from scratch who are international student, like they have to pay their bills, so they have to look for any job. So that's also their priority before like looking into career path. And there, most people like aim for PR. So that has its own process. So you have to look for certain kinds of job. So main thing is to you have to manage a whole plethora of things out there, Canada. So for example, for me, like I divided a couple of routines allocate times for different tasks. For example, I had like set amount of hours where I uh, applied for roles. Then I dedicate set amount of hours for interview prep, because you don't know when you get called for the interview or summoned for the
Hmm.
interview, so you don't won't have ample amount of time to take preparation. So like it's better to progressively, like on a daily basis, prepare for interview. Like I can go down into the resources and also the portals later, and also like I have to dedicate time for like other roles, like because I had to pay my bills. So I was aiming for any kind of jobs that I would get, be it the summer jobs, be it survival jobs, that I also had to like apply for those as well. So for those, like I had to like go walk in as well and apply to different portals. So that's how I'm mainly dedicate the time. And as international student, you have other chores around, you have to do your own cooking and groceries. So those also like occupy part of my major part of my time after graduation. Yeah.
Sure. So as you mentioned about preparing for this interview, like I mean, so if you are preparing for the FANG companies, so there is actually a site called LeetCode.
Yeah.
So now my question to you, like I mean, were you also also like solving problem in LeetCode as well? Even if you're not looking for FANG job, will does it help?
Yeah, sure. So I can recount one experience. So like that's why where my perspective changed. That's also a good question, Sakib Bhai. So yeah, so once I like my goal was to like apply for Millifang. So I can still recall the first day I landed in Canada. So I cleaned out my house and I had the idea of like preparing for lead code. So I was doing lead code like before coming to Canada, and that was also part of my day to routine. But what from my experience, so if I have to like put lead code in the priority list in your job preparation, that would come like third or fourth. That's not the main thing that works out. So that's one of the difference, like that happens like if you are preparing for a company in Bangladesh or FANG compared to any other company. So to give you an idea of the different like kind of companies out there, so in FANGs, like definitely they have a kind of fixed like interview structure to it that's already been like cracked, and people follow those routine, and part of it being like grinding onto lead code to prepare. So but that doesn't work at this economy, because the reason is like, as I said, like the junior positions are getting depleted. So like people are start hiring from third year or more, or people having 3 years of experience. And by experience I mean they usually prioritize experience these days in North American companies, either unless like you have other like other few, attributes or other projects that really shines you out and makes you stand amongst other. For example, if you have a very good project that like had like 50,000 likes in GitHub, or for example you're a very top competitive program, those are exceptional cases. But in general cases, like yeah, the requirement for those roles are having 3 to 4 years. In my experience, Amazon or Google, like 3 or 4 years of experience, and without having that experiences as your pedestal, something to step upon, you won't make into the interview in the first place. Yeah, and second of all, like what helps is like as I said, like tailoring your resume. So I can get more into the interview stages, but for as you said, like coming back to the question, Liquid was part of it. But from my experience, like had I been able to like work back through the whole process, going back in time, I would have more focused on like getting some form of initial experience or tailoring my resume and prioritizing other things as compared to like grinding lead code, which comes as in tertiary list of like the priorities. So like in Bangladesh, what happens? I have the same mentality from Bangladesh. So in Bangladesh, what happens is basically like is there are jobs for junior level roles, even like people who are into like having 4 years of experience and want to switch roles in Bangladesh do not have to focus on other parts like tailoring resume or behavioral interviews. So they mainly focus on lead code. And if you're a good problem solver and able to solve the problem, it works out for you. But things are a bit different. Like we can like talk about those later. Yeah. So
Yeah,
lead code
and
was,
with the
yeah,
yeah, and with the rise of AI, you don't have to write too much code actually. You just need to know, like, I
exactly.
mean, how to command
Exactly.
AI to build the code. So that's the
Yeah.
other reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
as some, yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so that's one of the instrumental aspect of like coding. By instrumental I mean like, yeah, in your day-to-day work you don't have to like use a dynamic programming, solve a dynamic programming problem, or like uh, uh, sort of like priority queue. So those tasks can be like the mundane like day-to-day coding tasks can be done with the help of AI assistant, but that's only for like interview perspective. They want to like filter out the talents and the having problem solving capability in the DSA domain is a good indicator that you are a good talent. That's the like motivation behind like taking the DSA interview, which has been going. And from what I can see is that that's not gonna go away anytime sooner. Yeah, but definitely in the workplace is a different different it's a completely different ballpark. Yeah.
Awesome. So what I understood from your experience, I mean, the first thing that we need to focus is like a regular apply. Like maybe we have to the volume of application, like as you mentioned, maybe every day we have to assign some time for actually looking for job and can keep applying. And the second thing that you mentioned is like we have to make sure like the quality of the resume is good and is relevant to that job what you actually what you're applying. And then third thing is basically preparing yourself for like on different way. Like I mean, so it could be a part of it,
Yeah.
and you also have to like prepare for any specific skill set. Like I mean, if you are applying for a coding label job, then you have to like prepare yourself for that specific coding like language. And maybe if you're looking for Java or Python, then like prepare yourself for that specific language. Try this out, something like that, right?
Right, and like you missed one part, like reaching out to people for referral. That really
Oh yeah,
works out. Yeah, that's a key part. Like, yeah, so you have to asset from like quantity and quality. You also have to like reach out, look through LinkedIn, through connections to send your resume if you get someone within the same circle of the team. So that has a higher effect on getting an interview call. Yeah,
true. Networking is really important. Yeah,
very
that's
important.
different. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So now the question is that as a fresh grad or like as someone who's looking for a job, so so what are the channels right now is very effective to search for a job in LinkedIn? Sorry, in North America. Like I know the LinkedIn is one of the very important channel. Like, is there any other channel like LinkedIn where from where people can also get some like help on job searching?
Yeah, sure. So there are multiple portals out there. So LinkedIn is one of those. So what I would recommend is like LinkedIn has an easy application, and people not to fall for that trap, because like I haven't seen a case where like I got an interview call from easy apply. So those usually don't get filtered out. So first of all, like if you see any kind of application that has to be applied through easy apply, you first like it's better like go onto their portal and see whether they have a separate portal for that. So that's one way to like apply through LinkedIn, and there are like filters that really helps you stand out. For example, you have filters to select where there are applicants less than 10, filters to select applicants application jobs that came on within 24 hours. So like if you cleverly try to like utilize those filters, like you will be able to like apply roles that is where there's less competition, because like that helps to like uh, if you apply to roles that got posted within the last 24 hours, then there's high chance that it first follows a first come first served basis, that your application reaches out to the recruiter first. So it's better to take those like advantages of the filter. And aside from like LinkedIn, there are in Canada there is one other main portal, so Indeed. So you see more like their roles there that's not in LinkedIn, and another one is the government portal out there in Canada. So yeah, so they have other uh, genuine job posting. Then there's Monster, and another one that I try to leverage. So it's kind of like all in one place. So it's Simplify. So Simplify is kind of like a startup, like where it gives you the option to like tailor your resume, then apply to other roles as well, like remote roles in United States, not only in Canada or other remote roles, and like it manages your whole application process. So rather than like taking help from any like AI to uh, uh, tailor my resume, so it has a like browser extension that like manages the whole process. So that helped me out with the application process. So it's not only portal, so it's basically like also on job management like, side. So other than that, like the last would be like basically Google. So that doesn't work. Mainly, the one that works is either Indeed or through LinkedIn. Yeah,
Mhm.
those are the main portal.
So what I, so what I understood, like I mean, there are like two main portals that you have used on the job search. One is the LinkedIn, and another one is the Indeed. You also mentioned about one Canadian the government site. What was the site?
Yeah, I forgot the name. Like government job. If you search government jobs Canada, I can
Government
post it
jobs.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
can
please. That's okay. For now, share the link with us.
yeah.
Let me done so we can post it with the video. So yeah, so that would be great. So yeah, so there were three important places, and anything else other than these three that you mentioned I must have missed?
Mention simplify. So it's kind of like not
Simplified.
only yeah simplify job application portal, but it also works as a job application management portal. So you only don't only see
Yes.
matching jobs, but also see jobs. It's a place to like manage your resume. So yeah, so I think I forgot to mention one important thing for freshers. So like aside from like because like at this economy, like people like as a fresher, people don't want to hire freshers as a full time. So most companies, so there are like agencies out there, and there are different agency portal. So yeah, so it's better to leverage those that will be, because like there are some postings that you don't or see in LinkedIn, or some postings that miss out LinkedIn from those agencies. So it's better to like dig into their websites to see whether there are extra roles out there. So one of the couple of them are like Randstad, then there is Robert Huff,
Mhm.
then there is Hayes. So they mainly hire like uh, contract based IT specialists. So yeah, so I think like from my experience, like from my other friends who got career jobs in Canada, so there are a majority who was able to get contract roles through those agency portals. So it's better to keep an eye out for those portals as well. Yeah.
Awesome. So along with those sites, those platforms, have you ever tried really with any AI based like tool like which helps you to submit your jobs? Some for I mean for the job, I have some AI based tool that you can give your resume and they will look for your job and then submit it. Have you tried anything like that?
No, I haven't used any tool. So I only use like Simplify that has a browser AI built in that helps to tailor your resume. And not only so the workflow that I would have followed like without using that tool was like basically like ask ChatGPT to like tailor my resume. Then I have to like fix the template. So
Mhm.
it has its own like the interface is designed in such a way that each bullet point is organized as separate like separate boxes where like the AI like uh, paraphrases the each of the bullet points to make sure
Mhm.
that it has the right amount of keywords to like have a high ATS score. So yeah, so it has a one ATS system in the pipeline. So yeah, that gives you the ATS score after tailoring the resume, which for in case like if you had only just used an AI like ChatGPT or any other like Gemini or any other LLM, so it would have only like tailored your resume, and you have to assume that it has the right amount of keyword. But with Simplify, like what helped me was like it has a ATS system in place, so that after the tailoring gives you okay how good your like resume score is. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks for this information. I think it will definitely help others. So now let's get into the resume build-up section. Like, I mean, like, what do you think a good structure for a resume? I mean, what can attract someone to get a call? for them to review.
Yeah, sure. So the number one structure would be like each of the sentences should have certain format. So it should start with an action verb. So usually it's better to pick the action verbs from the job description. For example, develop or organize or optimize. So you should use the action verbs from the job description. So it has the following pattern. So it starts with the action verb followed by okay the tools that you use and ends with a number, a KPI. So those KPIs matter. So for example, if the resume has a job description demands that okay, you need they need some data analyst with Python skill or SQL skill. So for example, your one of the line could be arranged in such a manner. So you and delineated meaning you showed the X amount of revenue in the company using tools such as Python. So it's just an example. So it has to follow that pattern. And in terms of organization, so it should go be reverse chronologically. For example, you should start with your latest work or education. For example, in my case, now that I have experience, so if I had to apply for new roles, so that my work experience section would come in front, followed by the previous work experience and the second later on my education. So when I was initially after my applying for graduation, I just graduated. So my work experience came in front. So that kind of like there's a thing called like after the resume gets filtered out to the resume, the recruiters who are like skimming through a resume has like 7 seconds span. So your resume needs to be quite telling in terms of the skill and telling in terms of work experience. Everything needs to all the information needs to be packed up to intrigue their senses, and that has to be done within those 7 seconds. So it's better like yeah, so highlight and organize the information so that like within that 7 seconds. So that's the whole purpose of using the keyword. Like if those keywords are bolded out and the KPIs are bolded out, so you can imagine that you are in the shoes of a recruiter. You just have 7 seconds to go through the resume and okay, those come pops out, and yeah, so then they make the split second decision, okay, to like keep your resume filtered or give you a rejection email. Yeah, so yeah, those are the main organization structure, and yeah, that you need to follow. Like first of all, like arranging the sentences starting with the action verb followed by the tools ending with the KPIs. That and like if your the sections will be organized like in terms of what you have done recently, whether it's your education or work experience. Yeah, and
Yes. I guess.
I, yeah, I think didn't touch one point is about the summary section. Some people have wondering whether like it's better to give a summary section or not. So there are like from my experience, there are mixed opinions on that. So there are accounts that believe like if you add a summary sections on top of your resume, so it kind of like gives you a extra bit of space to pack on your keywords. So it helps to like deal with the ATS system. Other people believe that if you use a summary section, so yeah, so it kind of like people, it's a resume. I mean, the recruiters who go through the resume could get a vibe of like if you people mainly use like AI paraphrasing the summary section, not a human or natural way of like arranging your summary. So that kind of has a negative impact. So yeah, so though there's not a clear opinion on that. For me, I recently used summary section on my resume. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this is a good advice. I mean, I just want to add one more thing. Look, I mean, this thing is so important. Look, right now, the lots of certifications are going there. I mean, if you can get some certificates for any kind of cloud, so cloud and AI is gonna be the next thing. I mean, it's already a thing. It's not the next thing. If you can get some certification for some three major cloud like AWS, Google, and Azure, this will definitely add some actually extra thing on your resume. So yeah, maybe someone can also focus on that piece while finishing the graduation. So go for a certification. There are different kind of certification paths out there. You can be like a data engineer. You can be architect. I mean, you can be like focus on AI. So you can actually focus on any path and try to get like some certification as well. That might be also helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of like the idea of certification works as a supplement to your already like skill. It kind of like gives you credibility that okay, you are skilled. Like for example, if you haven't worked with Azure or any day cloud platform, so I think like it's better not to dedicate time or waste energy on getting a certification, because like that doesn't credify or credentialize anything. Like yeah, once you have certain experience, then better is to like supplement that with a certification. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you for sharing the information. So now let's get into the interview section. Okay, when you are if when you get a call of the interview, like how should you actually tackle an interview? What should be your focus in the interview?
Yeah, so basically, so as I said, yeah, so there are like depends on the range of company. For example, with FANG companies, people think like it's harder to crack, but I believe like easier because the pathway for cracking the interview is already like documented. So the preparation is quite structured. Like yeah, so for example, there are lead code rounds, so there are behavior rounds. You know what the game is, so you are able to prepare. But for any other mid-range companies, two things happen. Like so there's one aspect of preparation, and another aspect is like which is a bit tough because it's a bit ambiguous. For example, what I mean by that is, for example, with mid-level companies, a couple of things happen. One is like okay, so they expect people having like same like 3 years of experience. They people expect people who gives them the way, not people just people who just codes or develops stuff. So you need to have a good acumen of the business and how to tie them up with the system. So for example, in my cases, in most of the cases, what happened was that okay, but before that, okay, let me go through the layers of interview, usual common layers. So once you get a your resume gets selected, for example, so it gets screened through a recruiter. So that's common through all the kind of like throughout the different types of like industries, whether it's a like mid-sized company or a fang level company. So initially you have to go through a screening phase. So that's done by mainly recruiters. So what they want to try to see is that whether your goals, ambitions, and your resume aligns with what's there in the job description. So yeah, that's one of the hurdle I have faced. For example, in my case, like I worked in data, but data, there are different parts in data. For example, I worked as a data analyst, where I then worked as a AI engineer. So my path was not entrenched into one side of data. Had it been the case that I had worked only as a data analyst, it would have made by path more concrete, and my future like extrapolation and idea of career path more like solidified. So in my case, I had a hard time like trying to like convince them that I'm trying to go in the like, role that's there. So yeah, so that was tough. So the goal should be to like make them convince whether like your future career is in line with what you have done so far. And
Mhm.
so what you have done so far, for example, you can imagine like recruiters are not a technical person. So anything you say, like you have to be quite careful in how you articulate yourself. Like if they ask, tell me about yourself, so you can not like throw in all the tech terms. So it might be quite pedantic for them going over their head. So you have to like you have to imagine that okay, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a note of what you're gonna say. Then what they're gonna do, they're gonna match it up with the description, because they are not quite savvy usually in the case to okay, see whether if you articulate in a different way, whether your what you have done or your experience quite highly lines up with the job description. So you have to, when you speak, you have to make sure that you utter the keywords in any of the answers that you give. So for example, if they give you okay, tell me about yourself. So for example, there's a for in the job description there's a word okay, like uh, the a data analyst, for example, who has built reports to help business track their process. So for example, you have created a dashboard, but in order to line up with the job description, you have to make sure you utter that keyword, that you have developed a report not a dashboard. You have to use those terms quite carefully and thoughtfully. Is used in the business process. So they usually like, yeah, make sure that your goals are aligned, your expenses are aligned. Only then you get filtered into the next stages of interview, and that's where the types of interview varies from different company. But for the first level is more like unanimous towards like the throughout different type of company. So yeah, so in
Yes.
fan company, as I said, like the path is set is more easier, I would say. If you get there, like you know what's coming in and you have to prepare. But for other companies, so what usually happens, so any kind of product manager, or if it's a big company, then there are other tech leads. So mid-sized company, they don't have much, usually don't have too many professionals in the field to take multiple layers of interview. So they usually pack it up within 2 or 3 interviews. So in those interviews, what happened, like as I said, like they want to understand whether you can and talk in their own terms. For example, a business person is taking your interview, you can talk in their own terms without using too much tech terms, and translate in such a way that helps them understand, okay, translates their requirements. So you are not a person who just codes, you're the person who solves, who's an architect. So in those cases, like what helped me, like I knew that that would have been the case. So those cases, like just solving any kind of programming doesn't work. You need to have a good grounding on the theories. For example, you need to read books like that focuses
Mhm.
on like software system design. In my case, like I was mainly focusing on data areas, which included machine learning. So for machine learning, so I followed one book, for example, cheap ones, like system design. So with that, like it gives you like idea, okay, how to design a whole process. So in the conversation, like when they give you a functional requirement, or like what kind of like design principles that needs to be bring up, what kind of further questions that you need to speculate and query them to carry on the discussion. So some like that would be tantamount to the system design interview in usually FANG companies, but it's not exactly the same. But you need to know the principles. So without knowing how to the architect, you won't be able to like uh, crack the business case or like question. So that's one of the main differences that I faced. But I knew that, okay, from the size of the company, okay, those are the interviews that were coming at me. So I was reading through a couple of books. So for one I said, like Keep One's book on machine learning system design for data engineering, I'd recommend one book. So that with me is like Fundamental of Data Engineering by Joris. So with those books, like give you the system design perspective. So you have the theory to carry on the conversation. So what's striking is that, as I said, like grinding 1,000 lead codes or problem, or days of lead code doesn't help. So what helps, like if you are able to like pass through this stage, so they usually like take one behavioral stage, see whether you're fit for the company at that time. Like they see whether if you have an North American experience, they understand, okay, you know how to adapt to the culture, you know what happens on day to day, the best practices. So yeah, so that helps you a bit. So behavioral usually follows those technical, and in cases like the technical main technical coding round, it happens and it sometimes doesn't happen. So if they're satisfied that you know the theory, you have good like uh, culture ingrained within yourself after having worked in other North American companies. So yeah, they're well satisfied. In my case, there's only one interview where I was given lead code type question. So it was a different role. It was a quant role. I'm not sure many people are aware of this role. So it was basically like a quantity field is like field of finance. So it's within the intersection between finance and software. So the interviews follow like either like lead code and other like probability mathematical questions. So the competition is quite less for those roles, because like many people are unaware of those roles. They are mainly like taken by quant firms like SquarePoint and other big quant firms. So yeah, that was the only like interview where I had to go through a lead code question. Other like most interviews were, as I said, like firstly screening, followed by they want to understand whether you can translate the business problem, and followed by behavioral if I made onto that round. Yeah, and then coming to like, yeah, those are the mid sizes companies. So a couple of interviews that I got were mainly in mid sized companies, and yeah, the prep was different. So yeah, lead code in those cases didn't work out so well for me. Yeah, what worked out was my previous experience in TD, so that helped me like to get onto the interview. So not the American experience, and also the internship experience gave them some idea or indication that okay, I'm suited uh, with the culture, the North American culture, and the practices, the agile practices that's being followed. And yeah, those are many. And for big tech companies, as I said, like yeah, so I recall, yeah, there's only one interview that I got, and the reason for like lack of like rounds of technical interviews because they big mid-sized companies doesn't have a well established team to to rigorously test you for multiple rounds of coding interviews. So they skip those steps, circumvent, and only cram up to like uh, either like system kind of, not system, but understand your understand wisdom in the field, followed by behavior. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for sharing the interview tactics that you've been following. I'll just add like a couple of points from my experience. Like I mean, that I found. Like I mean, sometimes you have done some interesting thing which showed like your skill on being curious, like on taking some uh, like proactive role. So which might not be coming while they're asking the question. So sometimes it's better to actually steer your interview to that direction where you can actually bring those points, even if it's not actually directly attached with the question, but you can tell, okay, I have done something, something like this, which helped me, something like that, but which may not be directly relevant to the question, but this helps. And another point is like, I mean, this is a very important point. Like when at the end, interviewer asks you, "Do you have any question to ask?" So this is a very important part. Like sometimes people say, "No, I don't have any question. I'm good." But that's not a good answer actually. So this is the part where you have to showcase like you are very curious, like you want to know about the company, you want to know if it's a if it's a tech interview, if it's a development tech interview, then you have to dig deep. Like I mean, what kind of technology you're using, so you are doing this or that. And in that time, if you have some experience, you can also like suggest them some advice. This will be also like helpful for interview. Like this is the place where you can showcase like what you know. So that piece I would suggest who are looking for the ways to take very seriously and wait for that part, because that part will be there will be always in the interview some like at the end your interview will ask like, do you have any question for us? No. So that piece is very important. So just want to add.
Yeah, exactly, as I said, like people like don't stumble upon like cracking coding interview. Those are usually not super hard. So what they stumble upon is that like that behavioral aspect, your curiosity to like curiosity and your understanding, your ability to take the lead or like solve, so as a person like to be more extrovertly bring out the solution to a problem. That's what they are looking for, and that's why from my experience people stumble. Even I stumble sometimes because like coming from Bangladesh, have that understanding, okay, like cracking lead code or able to solving a coding solution is what gives you the offer, but that's not the case here. Like it's a different, like you need to like, and one point you mentioned that's steering the discussion to one relevant point. Yeah, I also try to utilize that tactic in one of my interview where I had certain KPI that I was proud of, and like the role was a bit different. It was a full stack developer my role, but I tried to like start on my tail about yourself by highlighting that point, and that kind of like set the stage to like further like de- delve into how you did, so how you made such and such revenue, and I was able to like yeah, like carry on the discussion and steer it like the way that I wanted to. Yeah, that also works sometimes. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing this information. So, Arik, so how you are planning for your future? Like, I mean, what is your goal? I know you're planning to get your pursue your permanent residency, right?
Yeah, sure.
So what are you planning for this thing, and then how this is gonna impact on your job, or what is the current situation of Canada? Because ultimately you have to. So one of the goal of the immigrant is to get a citizenship, right? So what are you planning? What's the current situation? Like how you're pursuing for that?
Yeah, so yeah, thanks. So I can answer from my international student perspective, who completed like uh, his postgrad in Canada. So the for us, like we are making two routes for it. Like if someone is living in Ontario, I'm talking also from Ontarian perspective. So people who have completed their postgrad in Ontario, so they have other like PNP program where like they have to accumulate points that's not like coupled with their job usually, so it surrounds around their master. So that was a uh, helpful route for me because like that gave me that leeway because my peer and permanent residentship was not contingent upon like getting a job, so I can like separately apply for that. And like the other route is basically the express until wide, like yeah, you're there are certain like categories of jobs out there, be it like management role. I'm not aware of the current status quo of the which job carries how many points, but it has a relevance with your like job that you have taken. So you need to accumulate certain amount of point in those fields before you apply for your expense entry. But my case, like as I said, like it was like completely separate from my getting a job. So I was lucky enough to like apply for the YNP program. So simultaneously, I was like looking for my career related roles. Yeah, and in terms of like the current state, I think like was that the question, or am I missing something?
Uh, Sorry, so you mentioned about one program like YNP program.
Yeah,
Uh, can you tell me just a little bit detail about the program, like, and then who can apply on that program and
yeah.
how it will help you to get the tier?
Yeah, sure. So the is called the Ontario Provincial Nominee Program. So what happens is that there are draws that happen after like couple months. It happens sporadically. You don't know whether it will happen 3 months later or after the last draw or 4 months later, but it happens after a certain period. So within that, like the provincial government set up a threshold, and if you uh, are above that threshold in the competitive pool, you get an invitation to apply. So those application process usually like for in the current timeline, because the whole process changes in Canada, as you might know. So
Mhm.
it takes around like 6 months. So the points for getting selected surrounds comes from your education. And I was applying for the master's graduate stream, so there are points that was coming from the program that I have taken. So there's a whole list of points. If you go into the ONP portal, I just want to summarize. So one main comes from your degree. Whether it's a STEM degree, you get more point compared to a business program. Then where you have partaken your like courses like from university also carries point, and that's where people lose a couple of points. For example, I completed from Windsor, which is outside GTA, so they have an incentive to make sure that people who are spread across Ontario, not like clustered within Toronto, so they assign more points to people who are living outside
Mhm.
GTA. So my also point came from there. Then also which language know, mainly through your like it mainly boils down to your whole education. So once you tally those points, and in the next draw, your point is above the threshold, then you get selected. So after the 6 months or so, like they give you a nomination letter. So with that nomination letter, you then apply federally. Which stage I'm currently right now, then it goes through another stages. But now the process is not completed. You got all ITI. What happens is basically they verify your documents, then take your biometric and so on and so forth. Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the experience, and because this will be definitely helpful for the people who want to actually prepare for for the PR. And also, like as you mentioned, if you are studying outside GTA, so it will help you to get some more points. So that will be also important while people are selecting the universities. Like if they're selecting university outside of GTA, like some like as you mentioned, you studied in University of Windsor, right?
yeah.
So that would be actually that would be also helpful. So yeah, I think that's good. And So my last question, I wouldn't take much time from you, is about the job condition in Canada. I know it's not that easy. Things are getting changed, and with all those tariff war and other thing like with that, and also with the war condition, it's getting a little bit unstable. But how is it looks like right now in Canada?
Yeah, so I won't be super optimistic, but like one piece of advice that I would give, and I would have given myself retrospectively, is that like having a stalwart mentality. By that I mean that okay, the reason for the whole point of discussion like this is to give people idea to calibrate them or calibrate their expectation. For example, if anyone is expecting that after like 10 or 20 application, based on data from like pre-COVID, that okay they might get 5 interviews, then crack one of them, then they'll be highly disappointed. Once you have your expectations calibrated, so you should have like that stalwart mentality. I mean, like you get a rejection, like don't lose it. That's what the pitfall that I see, and that's also like kind of like self advice to myself usually. Like I know that okay after like it doesn't happen after one rejection, it doesn't happen after 10 rejection, but it will happen. So once you have the mentality and keep on progressing with your interview and your application, both quantity, quality, and applying, reaching out to referral, it will happen sometime. But yeah, with that, like if you'll just give on after like first couple of time, I know the times are hard. Like that will have a like very negative impact on your whole journey. It's a tough piece of advice, yeah, not to give up. But the only piece of advice that I would give anyone is to have not give up. So if you have that mentality, keep on marching forward. Like yeah, definitely you will get a success. It might not be today and might not be tomorrow. And so yeah, that brings down to not only like sticking within your career field. So because like the AI is changing the whole landscape. I don't know whether like software engineering field would be a potential like career pathway 10 years down the line. Maybe it will change. So if you have that adaptability as your like in your arsenal as your plan B, you're able to move on to any other field. Like let's try to do that simultaneously. Like yeah, that's also a really important advice. Like okay, for example, if like software design engineering doesn't work out, like try something else, something which might work. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ariq, for sharing your experience and your career journey with us. I'd like to end it here, but before ending, I just want to tell one quick thing about the viewers. Like it's really important. Like if you're looking for a job, is to be actually agile on learning new skill. I mean, there is no stop. I mean, you have to learn a skill like always. I mean, that you cannot escape it because the world is changing very fast. New technology is coming. There was no AI like 2 years ago. So right now there's everything is AI. So if you think like okay, I don't have to learn AI, that's wrong. I mean, you have to learn AI right now, and like moving forward, if there comes new skill, then you have to adopt new skill. Uh, so learning skill, it cannot be it can be stopped, and that's why we actually have this channel actually Skill Fusion. We'll try to actually introduce you with new skills, and we'll introduce you with new people, like and they will share their experience with us, and then we'll learn from them. So that's the plan. So stay tuned with us, and then please subscribe to our channel. So like when there comes a new episode, you will get to know about it. And yeah, that's it
Yeah.
for today. Thank
Yeah.
you, Ali.
Thanks for giving me the stage to share my experience. Hope everyone helps from my experience. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.